Today, we're going to talk about a topic that, in some ways, is a follow-up to the melody writing tutorial we recently did. In other ways, it's not. We're going to attempt to define a set of guidelines for how you can incorporate hooks into your songs and melodies. I can hear some of you already saying, hooks and melodies, those are the same thing, right? Well, not really. But yeah, sometimes. You see, a hook is nothing more than a metaphorical term for the special thing that makes catchy music, well, catchy. If we consider the listener on the other end of our creative output, we have a delicate balance to strike. The recipe for catchy music is equal parts predictability and unpredictability. And if that seems at odds to you, it is. And really, that's the beautiful thing that makes music kinda special. We're connecting with listeners by both sharing a reliable experience while surprising them at the same time. If we were to extend our hook metaphor, the predictable elements might be the bait that lures our listeners into the song through familiarity. But it's the hook that catches them. Of course, a strong melody is still a great thing to have. But today, let's look at some hook techniques to either modify your melodies or accompany them. Technique number 1. Give them something to shout about. I once saw an interview with a songwriter who summed up her definition of a hook pretty simply. She said, "A hook is the thing the audience shouts back at you when you play live." To illustrate this, let's revisit an instrumental that we've already seen in our mixing tutorial on high-pass and low-pass filters. Remember this song? Today, we've added a top-line melody to go over that instrumental. Here's how it sounds. And we've written some lyrics to replace that piano melody.
Falling down, yeah, I'm falling down. I'd say look out below, but you already know that I'm falling down.
This melody is nice, but if we imagine playing this song in front of a crowd, it doesn't quite work with our songwriter's rule. There's nothing really for the audience to shout. And it's for this reason that you'll often hear seemingly arbitrary, shoutable hooks in songs. These appear in songs for one great reason. They work. They engage the listener. Check out this clip from the band NoFX playing a show in Monterrey, Mexico. That shouting shows the audience is hooked. With that in mind, let's try adding a simple shout to our song. Artists like the Lumineers employ this trick very successfully. I've downloaded 2 samples of people shouting "hey" from freesound.org. This one. Hey! And this one. Hey! I'll pan them for some stereo separation, and then I'll duplicate the tracks and transpose the samples a bit, so our chorus of heys sounds bigger, and like a mix of genders and ages. Hey! You know, kind of like a crowd at a live show. Check out our song now.
Falling down, yeah, I'm falling down. I'd say look out below, but you already know that I'm falling down.
I defy you to listen to this and not want to shout along with the hey, even if it's just in your head while you're listening. That's what hooks do. The melody gives us the familiar, and the hook provides that element of surprise. But okay, that's a simple gimmick, even if it is effective. Let's now check out a more involved way to add hooks that integrate those surprise elements within the melody. Here is a simple enough song I've got going. I've used a scales and chords player to create sign pluck chords. I've got some drums and a bass line using fancy bass in the Reason 9 sounds. Over top of that, I've worked out the start of a melody line. And that leads me to hook technique number 2, repeat melody phrases. To understand this one, let's look at a simplified piano example for a second. I've got this very simple chord progression. And this very simple melody. To make this melody a little more catchy, we can actually make it a little more repetitive by getting rid of the second half and repeating the notes that occur over the first 2 chords over the second 2 chords. Now consider what this accomplishes. For one thing, it's familiar because we've just heard it. But it also surprises us because the same notes over different chords have a different harmonic tonality. That is to say, they feel different. But you might notice a little too much repetition bothers our ear. If we change our last note, however, we end up with a simple, pleasant variation. And from there, we have something of a hook that we can move forward and add lyrics, for example. But anyway, let's shift back to our electronic idea and apply the same principles. I've got this melody over the first half. Let's repeat it over the second half. And just like our simple piano example, this repetition is harmonically interesting, but we might want to alter our last note. Alright, that gives us a melody which has a repetition hook in it. Now let's punch it up with technique number 3. Punctuation is catchy. Remember that clip of NoFX playing live? Whether they knew it or not, they combined our technique number 1, shout it out, with technique number 3, punctuation. And there's no doubt that the audience has responded to their hook. But punctuation hooks that get stuck in your head aren't limited to shouts. But you already know that if you've ever offered someone to stand under your umbrella, Ella, Ella. Let's apply punctuation to our melody. This long-held sustained note is prime territory for punctuating. Our synth is monophonic, so we don't even need to shorten the underlying note. I'll just draw in some short staccato notes high above my melody. Let's start an octave above. Okay, how about something a little lower? That's it. Now, this is where personal taste comes into things, but for my sense, I'd like to modify the end of that phrase to help bridge the high punctuation with the lower resolution. So I'll move this note below the melody, allowing us to undershoot, then overshoot, and finally settle into the end of our phrase. Okay, now that's kinda hooky. Compare that to the more boring second half, which has no punctuation. So, let's punctuate the second half too. Now, there's no science to this, but since we went above the melody on the first half, we'll go below the melody on the second half. And since our first punctuations were on the beat, let's make our second ones off the beat. I'm liking where this is going here, but I'm gonna go rogue and delete the rest of the repetition motif. It's just not jiving with my new offbeat punctuations. Instead, I'm going to take a moment and explore some different notes to finish off our staccato phrase. This is partially trial and error, but one thing that makes this process much easier is if we put a scales and chords player above our instrument, set it to the same scale as our backing chords, and turn off the chord switch. Now, all the experimentation we do is with notes that fit our key. After playing around a bit, we've got this. And yes, that's quite different than the literal repetition we started with. But if we play our whole phrase, you can sense the repetition motif surviving along with our new punctuation hook techniques. Since we're already headed in this direction, I think it's time we explore technique number 4, get weird. This is a very open-ended rule, but weird is good. Let me put it to you this way. Do you think that Shake It Off by Taylor Swift began with just drums and baritone sax in mind? Do you think Imogen Heap wrote Hide and Seek knowing exactly what a harmonizer would do for her voice?
No, she didn't.
The fact is that playing around isn't just interesting for the creator, the result is interesting for the listener. So let's play around. Since our hook melody is played on a synthesizer, the obvious place to get weird is some knob or setting on our synth. And to make today's example obvious and understandable, let's go with the pitch wheel. I'll open up this instruments combinator and modify the synthesizer inside so that our pitch bend range goes from a modest 2 semitones to a more extreme 12 semitones. Now we have a full 2-octave range from top to bottom on our pitch wheel to bend our notes. We'll create an automation note lane for our pitch wheel by right-clicking and choosing Edit Automation. Let's draw a pitch wheel dive at the end of our first phrase, like this. We could, of course, decide to go slower or faster. Hearing it faster like that makes me want to add some more. So let's make 2 more automation clips. One that goes up on the second to last note of the phrase, and one that goes down on the last note. You see what I mean? It's weird, but oddly catchy. Let's add similar pitch dives to the end of our second phrase to help us serve both masters, the unpredictable, but also the predictable. So as you can see, the concept of hooks is an ongoing pursuit of experimentation plus trial and error. Hopefully today you've gotten some ideas you can try in your own music making. As with all things in music, sometimes we learn techniques and rules just so we know how to break them. And by all means, break all the rules. It is, after all, the only way music moves forward. So good luck going forward, and I'll see you soon.